Hi there, it's Nicole Dyer from FamilyLocket.com, and I'm excited to show you my Fan Club Genealogy Research Log Airtable template. And if you haven't used Airtable before, that's okay. It's pretty new to a lot of people. It's kind of like a spreadsheet and a database put together. And once you learn a few things, it's pretty self-explanatory after that. So hopefully watching this video will kind of get you up and going with it. So to get started using my fan club template, you're going to want to go to the Airtable Universe, which is where all of the published Airtable bases are shared with people. So you can find this template a couple different ways. One way is to just go to airtable.com/universe, and then in the button where it says search universe, in that field, you're going to type my name, Nicole Dyer, and then you can see the different bases that I've published. And the one we're talking about today is the Fan Club Genealogy Research Log template. And then another way you can get there is just by directly putting in this link, bit.ly/airtablefan, and that will take you directly to the Fan Club base. All right, here is the Fan Club Genealogy Research Log template at Airtable Universe. And to explore the base, you can click this button and see what an example looks like of it all filled out. There's two tables here. You can see there's the research log table, and then there's the table of the friends, associates, and neighbors. So let's click on that one to see what that one looks like. So here in the Friends and Associates and Neighbors table, you'll see that each person has their own ID number, and they have their own column for first name, last name, and their role. And then this column here is a linked column where the entry is linked to the research log. So if you have an entry in the research log for a certain deed, you can give it a title in the research log, and then you can type that over here to find it. And I'll show you how to do that. So over here you can put more information if you want to, but the basic thing that you'll want to have is the first name and the last name. And the reason I separated out these columns is so that you can sort the list by last name and see all the people with the same last name. And you can also see how many instances a certain person appears in the fan club, how many times they're a witness or a clerk or a neighbor to your person of interest, and you can start to get more of an idea of who's who and who's important. So going back to the research log table here on the left, you can see that these are records that you've searched, and you'll have a generic title for the record, and then the URL, the source citation, the basic things you have in a research log. And then over here in this column, this is automatically populated with the ID number for the people that you enter into the fan club table. And so this just kind of shows up as you put people in here and link them to a certain entry in the research log. All right, so let's practice using this. So follow along with me and go ahead and click copy base. And when you do that, it's going to add the base to your own Airtable account, and then you can open it up. So here's the new one right here that I just copied. So we'll open that. And when it opens up for the first time, you get to put in your research objective in the base description. So you can click edit on that and you can put in your objective. So the objective for this one is to find the parents of John Robert Dyer. Who were the parents of John Robert Dyer, born 1810 in Tennessee and died in 1879 in Hawkins, Tennessee, and married Bathsheba Tharp. Okay, so now I've got my research objective. Okay, then I can click the X. And what I'm going to do to show you how to use this is I'm going to delete everything out of this. And so we can get started with our own example here. So let's just pretend that the fan club is blank. and that I just have all of these searches that I've logged, and I want to start adding in fan club members into my fan club. So if you have a research log in another spreadsheet somewhere, you can copy and paste it into this research log on Airtable, and you can just manipulate the columns to match up with whatever way your spreadsheet was set up so that the columns will all match up, and then you can copy the rows and paste them into Airtable. So after you have that, then you can start using the friends, associates, and neighbors table. So let's just pretend that I've just copied and pasted this into here, and I'm ready to start adding some friends, associates, and neighbors. So I will probably just click on my URL and go see who the associates are. So I'm going to sign in to Family Search so I can see this record, and it's this 1830 census. So I'm going to transcribe all of the neighbors. It's kind of interesting to think about how many pages might be relevant to your person. You would probably want to start off with at least just this one page, and maybe the page before, and maybe the page after, maybe two, maybe the whole district. So as you can see down below, these names are indexed, but I always want to check and just see if they match up to what I think they look like. So let's see, my person of interest is right here, Robert Dyer. So I'm going to go to the top of the page, line 1, and I'm going to type in to my fan table this neighbor, Thomas Roberts. So over here, I'm going to type in his name. So Thomas Roberts. And right here, this field is an automatic numbering field. So I want it to start at 1 probably. Let's see. So we can fix that by going to customize field type and just auto number, save. Okay, so I had to go and check how to do this. But if you would like this number to start off at 1 when you do yours, you can do that by switching the field type, customize field type, and just change it to single line text, and then delete that, and then change it back to auto number, customize field type, and auto number, and then it will start at 1. It doesn't really matter what this number is, you just need to have some kind of identifier for each row, and that identifier will show up in the research log when you link it to one of these entries. So let's see how that works. So this is from the 1830 census. So I want to go over to this research log entry column and just start typing in 1830 census. And then it pops up with choices from the research log table, and here it is. So that's where it's from. So while I'm entering the fan club, I can click on this to expand the record, and it will show me everything from my research log. So I can remember, okay, yeah, Robert Dyer was here on line 5, and it showed that he had 1 male and 1 female in the household. This is the earliest census that I have for him, and if I wanted to, I could even attach a file. Just keep in mind that if you attach a lot of files in Airtable, you'll end up having to pay for additional space. So now you can also add the role, and the role would be neighbor. There's a lot of other choices that you can choose from. But on this document, the only thing we can really infer is that he's a neighbor. On some documents, you'll be able to tell that he's like the witness, and he's also a neighbor. Maybe he has more than one role, but usually you just want to have 1 row per instance of a person appearing next to your research subject on a record. And if you see them again on another record, you'll add another row with a different role so that you can link them to the record that it comes from. So you could also put what page and what house number or line he's from. So on this census, he is on the same page as Robert, so page 22, and he's line 1. So that might be useful, right? So page 22, line 1. I might want to know that in the future because I might say, how close did Thomas live? How close of a neighbor was he? So I can click on this, see my source citation for Robert, and see that page 22, line 5 is where Robert was, and Thomas Roberts was page 22, line 1. So about 3 or 4 people away. So you can leave notes like that. And now that I've made this and linked it to the 1830 census, I can go back to the research log table and see that the fan person number 1 has appeared here. And it's automatic, so I don't have to do that. It just appears. And so if I'm looking at the 1830 census row here and I want to see who the fans are, I can click on these records and just see their names. Thomas Roberts. Although it would probably be easier to do that by going to this table and just sorting. All right, so now what I want to show you is how to clear the revision history. So if you're going to be using my template, then you're probably not going to want to see that this row, like let's open this. If you're looking at this, you might see some revision here, and maybe you don't want to see that. Of course, you'll probably be entering your own records, so this probably doesn't matter, but I'll just show you anyways. The way to change the revision history is to go here and to click here, revision history, and then clear revision history, and then it will just be gone. All right. Okay, so let's see it now. Now there's no revision history here. Okay, so let's try adding another neighbor. So let's say that I've already gone through and added all of these. So now I want to go to this tax list right here and add some neighbors from that. So here's the tax list entry on Ancestry. And you can view the index here and just type these names or copy and paste them. I like to check always and see if the names look like the same as the index. So here we go, Anna Coward. So we can go ahead and add her. So I'm going to go to here and add another column. Right now it's sorted, so we can unsort that, remove these, and just type in her name like this, Anna Coward. And then if I want it to go back to being sorted, I can click this again and say sort by last name, and then it will move things around. Or you can remove that. So that's how the sorting works. So Anna Coward was a neighbor on the tax list. And I know that she's probably a neighbor because these are all the people who lived in district number 15. So I'm probably going to want to get the whole district, and it's alphabetized, so just getting the people around Robert Dyer, like above and below him, are not going to be necessarily his next door neighbors, but everybody in the same tax district lived in the same community, so I would probably want to capture all of their names. So I would go back in here until I see the beginning of district 15. And it looks like this is district 14 back here, so that must have been the beginning. So here is the beginning of district 15. Oh, you know what? It's double pages. Okay, let's go back. Here's the beginning of district 15, and now I can start transcribing all these names starting at A. So I'll probably go through and do all of that. And once I get all those names in, then I can have all my research, my fan club for the tax list here, and then I can sort it and see who was also a neighbor in the 1830 census and 1840 census, and kind of get an idea of his community that he lived in. So let's finish filling this out. So Anna Coward, she was from the tax list. So another way to add that is to click the plus, and then you can see all the entries in your research log and see which one you want to choose. So she was from the 1836 tax list, so I'm going to click on that one. And then I'm going to put that she was on the same page and what line she's on, or I can just not do that. it doesn't really matter because this list is alphabetized. So it's just going to be everyone that's in the same district. So I'll just put District 15, and the list was alphabetized. So it doesn't really give me any hints about who his closest neighbors were. I just know everybody was in the same general area. When you press enter, it doesn't take you to the next cell like it does in Excel. So you can press enter within there to get line breaks. But it doesn't change the size of the row. To change the size of a row in Airtable, you click right here on row height, and then you can adjust that. So there's short, medium, tall, and extra tall. For the fan club list, I like to keep it short because I just want to have a very simple, short list of people's names and be able to see and compare the names. If you do extra tall, it's good for like a research log. See how I did this extra tall? And if you make it short, then you'll just not see the whole field until you open it up. So you can open up this record by clicking expand the record, and then you'll be able to see everything in it. So it just depends on how you like to visualize your data. So for the fan table, I like to visualize it as a short row. All right, now let's do one more. I want to add like a witness from a deed. So let's go to this deed from 1847. And what I prefer to do with these deeds is transcribe the deed first and then get the people's names. So I already transcribed this into a Google document, but just for these purposes, I'm gonna try to zoom in here and find the names of some of the witnesses here. So here's the deed. John R. Dyer to James M. Hord. So we could right away put in James M. Hord as a person that's in the deed. And having read through the deed, I know that this is a deed of trust where James M. Hord is not a grantee, he's a trustee. So we're going to put him as a trustee. So automatically gives it a number when you add a new row. Then you can put the first name and the last name, and I use tab to get to the next cell. And then you can type in this cell that he's a trustee. And then you can press enter and it will choose that one. And then I want this to be from the 1847 Dyer Hord deed in my research log. And I'm not going to put a page or line because this isn't a census or a tax list. So I'm just going to leave that blank. And then any notes I want to put here, I can put deed of trust and then describe that he was just conveying some property to him, but not actually giving it to him, only in case he failed to pay his loans. So now I'm going to go back to that record and just kind of show you some of the other people that I grabbed out of here. So down at the bottom, there are some witnesses. So right here we have a witness, Hiram Fain. And there's also the names of the clerk. So John H. Ellis, clerk. And so I can add him. And then also in this deed, there's a couple of people who were John Robert Dyer's creditors. So you could put that in. Also, there's people that were acting as security to him. So there's Powell, which I think was George Powell. So you can see how I start to get a lot of people that I want to add to my list of friends, associates, and neighbors. So we can add Hiram Fain as a witness. And one thing that I like to do, if I'm going to be adding a lot of records from the same document, you can just click on this square in the bottom corner, and then you can drag it down just like in a regular spreadsheet, and it can fill up the next row. Another thing that I'll do is add a bunch of rows so that I have a lot of rows ready to be added to. And one way to do that is to just click onto the next row, or you could press Shift, Enter, a lot of times, and then it just automatically creates a lot of rows for you. And then I'll just take this and drag it down because I know I have about 6 people that I want to add from this deed who are going to fill up these spots. So I have George Powell, and I have the clerk who was John H. Ellis. And so I can just go on adding people. So we have the security, and John H. Ellis was the clerk. So I can just start adding all of their names. Now that I've added these 4 people to the fan club table, all linked to this 1847 deed, when I go back to the research log table and I see the 1847 deed here, I can see all of the people who are in the fan club for that deed. And it just tells me the numbers. And then I can expand it to see beyond that. If you would prefer to see the names of the people here, then you can, instead of making this first column here, this primary column, you can make that something other than a number. And the way you do that is by clicking Customize Field Type and change that, instead of auto number, change it to a single line of text. And then you can just put their whole name there. Thomas Roberts, Anna Coward, James Horde, Hiram Payne, George Powell, and John H. Ellis. One reason why you might want to do that is so that when you look at the research log, you can see their names in the fan column. And a reason why you might not want to do that is it's duplicate data entry. And the reason why I put their first name and last name in these separate columns is because I want to be able to sort by first name and last name. So what I usually do is I will, I'm going to delete these rows. So what I like to do is I like to sort by last name first and then by first name. So I'm going to sort, pick a field to sort by last name, and now it's sorted alphabetically from A to Z. I can switch it to Z to A if I want, and then see, it's alphabetical by last name. But I also want to sort it by first name in case I have different people with the same last name. I want to group together the people with the same name. So I'm going to click on pick another field to sort by and click first names, and then it's going to sort it that way too. Because I don't have anybody with multiple people yet, it doesn't need to be done, but when you get a huge list of this, you'll want to do it that way. Another thing you can do that I like to do is grouping. You can group fan club members by what record they're on or by some other column, but I like to group by the research log entry, so then I can see really easily. These are the fan members from the deed from 1847. These are the fan club from the 1836 tax list, and so forth. Isn't that great? So that is how you can use this fan club research log template. And I hope that this is useful for you. Good luck.